go. No, landmines near seals.
Unsanctioned acts of aggression will not be tolerated. Obey station law and enjoy your stay.
Okay. Go and pick it up on the way. Algebra, these all sound okay. Tourists.
No matter where you go, all on my mind. I could be alone, you're never far from sight. As far as we go, through the darkest night, I hope it brings you peace of mind. I know we'll be alright, no matter where you go. Always on my mind. I could be alone, you're never far from sight. As far as we go, through the darkest night, I hope it brings you peace of mind. I know we'll be alright. You can find me alone in this cold place, no place to slave to this place of time. If the mystery unsolved like a cold case, and highways disgraced by a state of mind. Drinking strange water, leave a sour taste. Been looking for my soul in the haze grind. Getting kinda dull to this heartbreak as my heart shakes like the waves in the baseline. Boom. The good girl grows too soon. Straight by the light of the moon. And it gets better. Path also changed like the weather. Feel like a song you can't remember. See you in December soon. So know you'll be coming home. Soon after you'll be gone. And no matter where you go, always on my mind. And I could be alone, but you're never far from sight. As far as we go, through the darkest night, I hope it brings you peace of mind. I know we'll be alright, no matter where you go. You're always on my mind. And I could be alone, but you're never far from sight. As far as we go, through the darkest night, I hope it brings you peace of mind. I know we'll be alright now. Been trying to delay what the days take. Find myself locked up. Can't escape this, there's no way. Now we're haunted by the mistakes. Big stacks like chips on a small blind. I text you, pay for lost time. Build yourself up from whatever's left of us, and the parts that stayed behind. Parts that stayed behind. Parts that stayed behind. No matter where you go, always on my mind. I could be alone, never far from sight. As far as we go, through the darkest night, I hope it brings you peace of mind. I know we'll be alright now. I know we'll be alright now. I know we'll be alright now. I know we'll be alright now.
Almagest. Is that the one? Let's see. I've been here. 103 light years away. Let's look at the starboards. See what I recognize. Sirius. Admiral. That's where it is.
broken heart. Somehow you bring me up, broken heart.
Huh?
Oops.
Lakon, Lima Alpha Uniform. The Federation welcomes you, Commander. We'd be happy to serve you at this port. Approved for access. Proceed to landing pad 2-0.
Scan detected.
Now we're back on pad 20.
Always proceed to landing material. To avoid unnecessary delays, shield destruction.
100 meters from touchdown. Docking confirmed. Power down your engines. Station facilities are at your disposal, Commander.
Federal Navy Courier. That's what I want to see.
to mislead. This is all you need. Be your everything, yeah, I'll be your everything. Still too soon to feel. Please just say it's real. More than just a thrill, not just in it for the thrill. I'm in it for the love, cause love it needs to touch it. You're pressing on my body, babe, let me tell you something. I'm in it for the love, cause love it needs to touch it. You're pressing on my body, babe, let me tell you something. I'm in it for the love. I'm in it for the love. I'm in it for the love. I'm in it for the love.
No, I was gonna go look for the ship, wasn't I? Which is in Silver Spring. That's what happens when you drink too much. You lose your fucking mind. Here, this is where you're going. You want to see about that ship.
Fuel scooping complete.
Brunello, wasn't it? This one was selected. Yeah, Brunello. With the ship again. Yo. Hey, where did it disconnect himself? Oh, I wasn't even heading towards it. Oh, see you, sir. Trick. federal drop. Shit. Ooh, that was nice. That was fun. any as high as any at home? No, I need to work hard. Blah, blah. Well, you just watch me. I will be the best worker in the world. I shall work with the best of them. Sample jobs. All the easy jobs. Don't want any stress. I'm too young for stress. Don't want any big job. Small little easy job. Just do a thing, do it easy.
Fly responsibly. Ensuring quick docking procedures in your field not entitled to know.
Shift attachment complete. Follow the greens on your way out.
Berlinski Enterprises. That's right, I roll. dare you? We're getting closer. There'll come a point where this gets rude now. This is gonna seem rude.
Docking request denied. Docking request denied.
No, I don't. Well then,
Docking request denied.
put that on
Docking
back.
request denied. Docking request denied. Docking request denied. Docking request denied.
Seriously?
Docking request denied. Docking request granted.
Hey! Type 3. Type 3 is... This one. Oh, not in here, of course. Approximately there.
Landing gear deployed.
Ah, so close. Just get out of the rubber ass of it. Brother, look at it.
Engines disengaged.
Really? No, that's the wrong one.
Ship released. Engines engaged.
Yeah, dumbass.
Docking request granted. Docking successful. Engines disengaged.
Now this time remember to do yourself one service. What's your reputation? All kind of the same. Oh, you got it.
Incoming message.
I don't have a joystick, so I'm not gonna get into combat. I'm also way too fucking drunk to think of three-dimensional people. You got some rarity grade stuff. Non-lethals. I do non-lethals. Total 35. 47. 16 food. I can do that. Look like it or not. Sensitive battle. Stuff on.
Ship released. Engines engaged.
Trump is a full-time resident 15 miles from me. Wow, that's, hey, look, better there than in the White House. Just look at it that way. Thanks to you, Upsilon Kappa.
Landing
Thanks to
gear
Share
retracted.
Sorry to
Frame shift drive charging.
That's confidence,
4,
privacy,
3,
socially distant hugs from
1.
Thank you. And I will make sure it gets somewhere useful. Thank you, Tommy Jameson. What's your take on Madeline, freedom fighter or ethno-nationalist? The two things are not necessarily mutually exclusive. I Putin is in a very weird position in being that while absolutely authoritarian and absolutely autocratic in everything that's bad, he does at least seem to care somewhat about the majority of the people under his rule, which, I mean, that's a happy change. That's normally not the case. That being said, he is somebody who should be opposed because he is authoritarian. That being said, not everybody who opposes authoritarian is necessarily a good person or has all of their views, you know, in line. So that's an interesting question. Does America now have a permanent and violent right-wing insurgency? I don't think so. I think we're going to see a very light one, incredibly light, not enough to worry about level of light. And I don't think it's going to be incredibly long-lived, but I definitely think it's going to be there. So, all right. Thank you, David Garrick. Caper here. Can you please explain what Cambridge Analytica did and does? That would take a video, and yeah, I'll put something out about that. Bose Einstein. Will the extremism and the conspiracy theories go away? Yeah, eventually. They always do. It just takes time. Thank you, Michael Stenaff. Have you read the works of Peter Kropotkin, Mutual Aid, A Factor of Evolution, The Conquest of Bread, etc.? You know, I have actually never heard of this gentleman, and I think that everybody should go read his work and let me know what they think. No, I'm actually a fan of most of what is described. The community networks that I advocate they're mutual aid networks that are taken to a different angle. Thank you, Mel M. Thank you for all you do to keep us sane. Love the Thomas Paine video. Thank you, Eli Watson. What's the story with the Curious George patch? There's a video. Let's talk about Curious George. And
Lakon, Lima Alpha uniform. Station services are prepped for your arrival. Greetings, Commander.
and initially, why I started wearing it again after my son, and then then I found out the story of Curious George right before making that video. Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So today, we're going to talk about Curious George. People ask me about it all the time, why I have this image on my hat. I think it's because I use so much symbolism in my videos in a whole bunch of different ways that they assume there's a deeper meaning to it. There wasn't, or to be honest. What seems like a lifetime ago, I was part of a group of guys that were normally somewhere trying to figure something out. Nobody knew where they were. People were looking for them, and they probably had no business being there. Curious George seemed like a really fitting mascot. That was only a few years, and Curious George kind of left my life for a while. Then my middle son, before he was even old enough to say curious, well, he just loved monkey. So all that stuff came back out. It was at that point that I read the stories for the first time since I was a kid, and I couldn't help but notice certain themes that are well, let's just say what we would call today problematic. The idea of a white man dressed the way that he is, taking a monkey from Africa, putting him on a boat, shackling him, bringing him to the United States, putting him in a cage, and eventually bringing him home was a theme I couldn't miss. At the same time, I love when something good comes from something bad, and today, Curious George is a science teacher. He teaches kids about STEM. He teaches them to build something from nothing. Love it. So I was willing to overlook the problematic themes that I saw in those stories. And to be honest, I don't know if that was an intentional thing, and after what I have recently found out, probably wasn't. Because one of y'all sent me an email detailing the story of Curious George, and I love him even more today. So Curious George was a real monkey named Fifi in South America, not Africa. His human parents were Margaret and Hans. Well, they go to France on their honeymoon. And they're there in May of 1940. If you're not a history buff, the Nazis just showed up. It's about to get real bad. Margaret and Hans are Jews. They can't get out. The trains are gone. They don't have bicycles to buy. So they build them, something from nothing. They use spare parts and cobble together bicycles. And they become refugees. They head out. In the basket of one of those bicycles, all of these beautiful pastel images that they had made of a monkey.
You fucking landed.
Eventually, they get out. They get to Lisbon, and they get out. They hop on a boat. They go back to Rio, I think. And then they make it to the United States, where that refugee adopts an assumed name, George. That's where Fifi became George. George goes on to better the country for the next 70 years, more than. Teaches kids to build something from nothing. Something that refugees are really, really good at. It's a great story. It's a great story. It is very fitting for what I talk about a lot of times. But I didn't know that, to be honest. I can't thank you enough for sending me that email. That's amazing. But I would imagine that a lot of the refugees from south of the border that are trying to get here now, they're going to be just like George. They're going to better the country if you let them. They're going to reinstill that spirit of being able to accomplish the impossible, that curiosity about the world around them. All of those things that we pretend are still American traits. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.
Beautiful is just. It's a horrible racist idea. And it's big.
Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So tonight we're going to talk about George Orwell. We're going to talk about George Orwell because, one, we're coming up on Banned Books Week, and it seems fitting. Two, when people talk about Orwell, they don't. They don't actually talk about the man. They talk about some of his writings. They pull quotes from those writings, and they use those quotes to justify whatever it is they believe. And that might work with a lot of authors. The problem is that Orwell used a whole lot of satire and parody in his writing. So what you think that quote means may not be. In fact, one of his famous quotes, we'll get to that. We're going to talk about him and talk about what he believed by going through some of his quotes.
some that actually reflect how he thought. And there's going to be one that I promise surprises you, and we are going to save it to the end. But first one, in our age, there is no such thing as keeping out of politics. All issues are political issues. This means a couple of different things. One, that government is becoming so totalitarian that it's involved in everything. And two, it's kind of a warning to those who only care about the pebble in their shoe, only care about those things that impact them directly. By the time that political issue that you abstained from getting involved in reaches you, well, it's too late to really do anything about it. This is basically that poem, First They Came for the Socialist, and I said nothing because I wasn't a socialist. It's that poem condensed into one line. And that certainly impacted a lot of how he thought and a lot of what he wrote. All the war propaganda, all the screaming and lies and hatred comes invariably from those who are not fighting. Very true today. It's true then, it's very true today as well. When the next military intervention arises, the talking heads that convince you that it is absolutely necessary, and if we don't do it, it'll be the end of the world, when it starts, they will be safely on set, watching their stocks in Raytheon rise. The very concept of objective truth is fading out of the world. Lies will pass into history. That's true, but it's always been true. This is not a particularly profound quote from Orwell, really. This isn't something groundbreaking on his part, but it explains a lot about why he wrote the way he did. In many ways, he wasn't worried about fact, he was worried about truth. And he used fiction to get to that truth. In a time of deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. This is definitely something he believed and truly reflected him. But I think people short sell this quote. They think it means Edward Snowden's a good person. And yeah, it can be applied that way. But see, I think this is really prophetic. I think what he's saying, really, is that the real battlefield of the future is that 4-inch space inside your skull. And that with the control systems that governments have becoming so advanced, like mass media, as showcased in 1984, that if they are successful in using deceit to shape your beliefs and your ideology, they'll never face a revolution unless somebody tells the truth. That, to me, is pretty profound. Journalism is printing what someone else does not want printed. Everything else is just public relations. And that is true. Journalism is collecting other people's enemies as a hobby. This explains a lot about how he wrote. In what was it? Homage to Catalonia. There are entire sections of that book that could be dropped, completely irrelevant to the plot, really, but they were included. In fact, they were criticized as being journalism within it. He was in a position to let people know what was going on, and he did. You know, Hunter S. Thompson is seen as the father of gonzo journalism, and that's definitely true. But maybe Orwell's the grandfather, because a lot of what he did was in that same vein. He was telling things that others did not want told by hiding them a little bit, obscuring the facts a little, and putting it into a storyline. Now, the next one we're going to go into is probably one of his best-known quotes, and certainly the most misunderstood. If you want a picture of the future, Picture a boot stomping on a human face forever. Man, that's chilling. That is chilling. Man, he didn't see a good future for us. The problem is that's not him. That's not him. I mean, he wrote the words, but they're not his thoughts. They're the bad guys in 1984. This has been cast as his prophetic last warning to the people of the world. No, it wasn't. Orwell wasn't a pessimist. He was a realist. What this is saying in the context of how it was really presented was that the establishment, the elites, are betters. They see themselves as so far above us. They're not even human. And that they will use whatever means necessary to maintain power. This is about kicking down, stomping down in this case. Orwell didn't believe that. Orwell did not believe that, and he didn't think it would work. Not really. Because in his words, in his voice, when he was talking about misusing metaphors, he said, in real life, it is always the anvil that breaks the hammer. Those taking the hits. Saying that it's not those that can dish out the most that win. It's those that can take the most. If there was a sequel to 1984, it would probably be the proles finding their power, realizing the power they have because of their numbers after taking so much abuse, and staging a revolution. Now, this is the one that is going to shock a lot of people, and is definitely going to be the most entertaining. 1936, 1937 turned the scale, and thereafter I knew where I stood. Every line of serious work that I have written since 1936 has been written directly or indirectly against totalitarianism and for democratic socialism. Put that on a picture of AOC and share it. Orwell was a unique person. His writing, a lot of it was satire, it was parody. In order to understand it, you have to understand what was going on at the time, and you have to understand him. The idea that he thought the future was hopeless, and that was what was going to happen, no, definitely not. If he did, he wouldn't have spent so much time trying to tell truth in an age of deceit. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good night. Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again.
This episode of Legal Eagle was made possible by Skillshare.
Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So tonight we're going to... Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So that Nike video, that went a little bit wider than I expected. A lot of people saw it that I didn't count on. That was supposed to be a joke for you guys that normally watch this. It didn't count on the extra couple 100,000 people seeing it, but I'm glad they did. Because, you know, they don't know the way I talk. They don't know that I tend to switch what I'm talking about in the middle of a video. So a lot of them saw the first few seconds, took off to the comment section and started insulting me. And it's all okay. It was all worth it. Because one guy in his insults got me thinking. And I had time to think about it because I was coming back from town. It's like a 40-minute drive. The insult was that my IQ was 2 points higher than a plant, and that I needed to, or asked if I could open my hick mind and understand what it was like to be a black person in the United States. No, I can't. Neither can you. Neither can you. I know right now there's some white ally out there learning the terminology that saying, "No, I understand." No, you don't. You may get the statistics. You may understand the numbers. You may get that there's a huge disparity in the criminal justice system, and because of that, it translates into more unjust violence and being visited upon them. You may get that. You may understand that there's a huge income equality gap. You may get that translates into a lower standard of living, lower health care. You may understand all of that. Doesn't mean you understand what it's like to be black in the U.S. It means you get the numbers. Maybe you understand a little bit of the history. See, it's way deeper than that. When we think about slavery, we think about the physical costs of slavery. And they're horrible, no doubt. But I think today, what's more relevant is something else. Where are you from? Not in the U.S. Where are you people from? Odds are, if you're white, you know Ireland, Scotland, England, Germany, Italy, Greece, France. Where are you from? And based on your answer, I can tell you all kind of things about you. I can tell you whether your gravy is red, brown, or white. I can tell you what kind of booze you probably drink. Tell you what kind of food you eat. Tell you what cuss words you use. Translates into a lot of things. The values you instill in your kids. The jokes you tell. The biases you have. My kid's 4 years old. One of them. He's 4 years old. If I look at him and I say, ooh, ah, he's going to go up the raw. Now, if you're Irish, you just laughed. If you're English, you probably got a little mad because that's part of your cultural identity. If you're not either one of those, you have no idea what that means. 4 years old. Kid doesn't know where Ireland is. Couldn't point to it on a map. But it's already starting to get ingrained in him. He's already being able to take pride in that cultural identity. Why don't we have Bantu pride? Congolese pride? Why don't we have that? See, the sociologists, they like to point to black pride and say, oh, well, it's a healing endeavor. So, black people can get together and they can join in that struggle. That's a cop-out. That is a cop-out. That's a whitewash of the reality. The reality is that slavery ripped that from them. They have black pride because they don't know. I don't know. It wasn't in the slave owner's interest to keep track of the cultural heritage of his property. So that cultural identity that shapes you, it does. Think about it. Think about how much of what you are as a person is linked to your heritage like that. Stripped away, gone, and it got replaced. It got replaced. Down here in the South, especially out in the country, you go into a black kitchen, somebody is going to know how to cook hog giles and chitlins. Pig's feet. Down here, that's seen as black cuisine. That didn't come from Africa. Not the way pasta or shepherd's pie came with us. That came from the plantations. That's what the slave owner threw away and let them eat. They endured that for so long, it became part of their culture. They endured it for so long, they got good at it. Found a way to make it flavorful. No, I can't understand what it's like to be black in the U.S. I can't understand what it's like to have my cultural identity stripped away and replaced with the knowledge that when my granddad was a kid, people didn't think he was human. Or that what is seen as my cuisine is because we got good at cooking trash. That's going to affect a people, a collective people, on a very deep level. When you say get over it, we're a long way away from that. We're a long way from getting over slavery. Yeah, the physical scars, they've healed. They have. Cultural ones are still there because it's gone. It was stripped away. Just vanished in the air. And I really want you to think about how much of who you are as a person comes from the old country. And then imagine what it would be like if you didn't have that. And if what it was replaced with wasn't love of the red, white, and blue. Because the red, white, and blue didn't love you. It wasn't that long ago, guys. There are people alive today that dealt with that dealt with some pretty horrible stuff. And it's getting better. But it's not solved. That problem's ongoing, and it's going to stay ongoing for a while. You know, I've seen people say that they're not African American, that they're just American. And I love it. Good for you. I cannot wait until the day comes when all of us just leave those national identities behind and we're just people. But that's a long way off. And until then, we're going to have to address our history. And while we may find it uncomfortable to address our history because we don't like it, we don't like the things that our people did, understand there's some people that don't know theirs.
At maximum capacity.
They don't have that source of pride to reach back to. I actually think that's why that Black Panther movie did so well. Because it's just like, you know, just like every European ethnicity has that origin myth, you know. They gave them that. So, it's just a thought. It's something to think about when you have convinced yourself as a white person that you truly understand what it's like. Take a step back. It goes a lot further than to have a talk with your kids about how to deal with cops. Your entire cultural identity was ripped away. Anyway, y'all have a nice night. Thanks for the insult, because it gave me something to think about.
I'm about bored right now. I think I have achieved my limit. Now, why don't I, in the meantime, go shipyard and call in, can't transfer that, but is it fine? I can transfer it for 2 million. Yum, 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 yum. Let's go better storage. Well, anyways, that was boring as fuck. Let's switch it off.